Hello, hello, and welcome to the Cloud English Podcast. My name is Luke. It is April 21st, 2045, and we have a lot of things to talk about today. Our main topic is presentations. How can you give a clear, concise, engaging, impactful presentation in English? Well, we're not going to be able to go through everything that you need to know. That's what the course is about, but we are going to go through some of the essentials, some of the key things that you need to really keep in mind when you're giving presentations. And then later on, I'm going to be walking you through how to build a presentation outline using ChatGPT. And as part of that process, I'm also going to be showing you a very interesting tool that you can use to build the slides themselves. Pretty cool. I'm not sponsored by them. I just think it's a cool tool. A cool tool. My ear is kind of popping, which is weird. Let's see, what else? Right at the top, if you are interested in joining a free English learning community, you can do that in the link in the description. That's the Discord. Feel free to join that. It is free to do so. Sometimes it's active, sometimes it's not, sometimes I'm just sharing stuff, whatever. Feel free to join that anytime. You can also get my full presentations course on sale. I think it's 85% off, I believe. That's in the link in the description. So if you want a big discount on the presentations course, which is doing pretty well, it's a fairly new course, grab that now. Now is a good time to grab that, okay? What else? You can get a free course. That's also in the links in the description. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe or follow. Now, if you're listening, do whatever then you can wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you happen to be listening. And to those listening, I appreciate you. I'm thinking about you, although these are recorded live on YouTube and Facebook. I want to try very hard to make sure, even if I'm doing something visually, that I'm explaining what's going on. If I'm ever not doing that well enough, for you audio listeners out there, please let me know, and I would like to do whatever I can to improve the experience, because I empathize with the audio people. I listen to a lot of things that I don't necessarily want to watch. In fact, sometimes I will have a video podcast on and I won't even watch it. I'll just have my phone sitting down there and I'll be just listening to it. Why? I don't know. I like YouTube. I think YouTube should have an audio only function where I can say, I just want to have this on audio. I don't care about the video so much, which would be very reasonable for this podcast. And, whoa, that was a weird noise. And then you could, the thing I don't like is when I have the YouTube app open and I'm watching something, I have to leave it open and I can't close it. If I close it, it stops the video. It'd be great if I could have that, where I could just close it like Audible and go on a walk or whatever. Anyway, that's my gripe to, I don't know, I guess that's a YouTube gripe, right? Come on, YouTube. Get it together, you dinguses. Okay. So anyway, let's get into today's episode. We're going to be kicking things off by talking about the sort of keys or secret sauce to a great English presentation. That's what we're going to be starting with. Let me just... So we have some people joining live. That is fantastic. Great news. Love that. I love that for you. Those joining live people. Great, wonderful, fantastic. Beautiful. Okay. So let's get into it. What makes a presentation really pop? What makes it engaging? What makes it interesting? Part of that is just, the topic, of course, and the you-ness, right? But I want to give a few tips let's say, the secret sauce of a great presentation, a few things that you can really put into action when you're building your presentations for work, whatever it may be for, right? You can integrate these things. You can use these things for almost any type of presentation, okay? But maybe before we get into that, just briefly, I want you to visualize a page on an online shopping website. You search something, right? You search a product. You see a bunch of results on that page. What things on that page will stick out to you to make you click on one rather than another? They're all the same type of thing. That's what you searched, right? Well, what's going to grab you about one rather than another? Well, you might see a lot of reviews, very good reviews for one. That might grab your attention, so there's some credibility there. Maybe it's the way that it's visually presented, right? The picture of it. If something looks very cheap and the image is poorly done, you're less likely to click than if it's really nice photography, right? Let's say it's a product, right? So the whoever took the picture did a good job with that, right? And it looks like a quality product, the way that it's presented. All of these different pieces go into what makes you click. Then once you click, you have to then read the details and go through all of that and not leave and complete the process, hopefully, buy the product. So then after you click, there's this thing that sellers have to do where they explain things clearly, they answer any questions you may have in maybe frequently asked questions, and they provide those reviews. All of those things then keep you engaged until you make the purchase. And I'd like you to think of your presentation in the same way. You have at the beginning something that grabs the attention of your listener, if your listener is one person or 100 people. And then throughout, once you've grabbed their attention, you have to do things to keep them engaged in your presentation. That sounds obvious, but really I think the online shopping analogy works pretty well here, right? So I want you to keep that in the back or the top or the front or the side of your mind as we're talking through this, okay? These are presentation things that you can do to first grab your audience's attention and then keep it throughout. And the first thing to do is to think carefully about engaging at the start. If you just say at the beginning, I'm going to talk about this, and you don't have anything right at the start that engages, then you're going to lose a lot of people very, very quickly, right? So use something called a hook to grab attention. Now, there are a lot of different types of hooks. We're not going to talk about a bunch of hooks in this video, but think about that, right? Think about hooks that you can use at the beginning. That could be a hypothetical question. That could be an analogy. That could be an analogy that you share right at the beginning to get people to think about it. It could be an interesting question directly to one person. It could be asking for a show of hands, sharing something kind of shocking or surprising. There are many, many. And you can learn all about those in my course on engaging presentations. Okay, so you've got their attention. You've thought about your hook, right? Well, to really make that decision and all of the decisions in your presentation, you also have to understand your audience. So the second thing is to know who you're talking to. Who is your target audience? Are you talking to potential investors for your idea? Are you talking to a bunch of students who may make a decision to, I don't know, choose a major or something later on when they finish high school, right? And then you're trying to give them, an accurate, realistic sense of how the world really is outside of school, right? Understand deeply who you are talking to. When I make videos, when I do podcasts, I'm thinking carefully about who I'm talking to, and everything I do is for the people I'm talking to, which is people who are learning English, who are generally not at a very low level so that they can't understand English. They can understand, but they have a long way to go still in the area of fluency, maybe pronunciation, a lot of different areas. They have to go from where they are to much more fluent. And these are the people that I'm talking to. And if that's you, then I'm talking to the right person, right? So think carefully about that. And if you think about that carefully, you'll be able to choose a good hook, and you'll be able to build the rest of your presentation so that it resonates with your audience. Now, you also want to think about what can cause distractions. Remember, we talked about that Amazon page. If there's this giant image of something in the page that doesn't do anything or accomplish anything, and the seller just put it there because it looks nice, get rid of it. It's not doing anything. So the third thing you need to do is ask yourself, for every single thing that's part of your presentation, why? Why am I doing this? Why is this here? Why did I choose this hook? Why did I choose this analogy? Why have I chosen this structure for my presentation? Why exactly am I explaining things in a specific way? Whatever it is, right? Every choice you make, every decision you make in your presentation, from the structure to the style to the audience to the hooks to the analogies to the examples given, everything should have a reason. And if you can ask yourself why and then answer those whys throughout, yeah, well, because I need to fit these two ideas together and that will make sense, that will make things more clear. Okay, great. That's going to make your presentation more clear. But if there's one that sticks out and you just say, well, I like this, that's a funny comment, but it's actually kind of, oh, why? Well, it could cause confusion. That analogy actually doesn't really make sense there. Okay, well, get rid of it. Get rid of things that are not highly intentional. And if you can't answer why, it shouldn't be there. Okay? You also want to think about building toward key moments. This is where you aren't just talking. You have these things that are important that you're moving toward, right? By the end of this presentation, you're going to have some clear keys that you can take away, and I'm going to then challenge you to use those to make a presentation on your own. Well, we're building towards something then. We're moving in the direction of something. That could be a call to action. That could be a moment where you express something that suddenly makes all of the examples and analogies you've given crystal clear, right? It could be if you're recalling something or telling a story, that moment when you walk over the horizon and see the whole valley in front of you, right? And all of the description you've given up to that point, leading up to it, the struggle, the difficulty has been leading up to that moment, and the audience can then feel that sense of relief and joy when you reach the top and see the view. All of those things are building toward these key moments. Otherwise, your presentation will feel flat. That's not good. Also, you want to consider structure. Now, structure is, there are a lot of different ways to have structure, right? Structure can be in the form of an outline. It could be in the form of a mind map. It could be in your head. But if you don't have structure, the danger is that you get off track. You lose the path, right? If you look at it, again, Amazon store page, bringing it back to the analogy, Amazon has a specific structure for the page. They move you through the information or the sections in a particular way. Do you think there's a reason they don't start with reviews, right? They want to give you the information that you want first and then force you to scroll all the way to the bottom to see what people are saying about it. You now have to go through all of the information because a lot of people just want to get to the reviews. So they want you to work to get there because then you're forced to see everything else. Okay, well, there's a reason they do that, right? So you want to be highly intentional. I recommend using an outline. I think outlines are very, very powerful for following a clear path, for not getting lost, for not getting distracted. If you don't have an outline, the chance that you could just wander off into a tangent and get stuck there and forget what you were talking about is higher. And if you get lost, your audience is definitely lost. You will lose their attention. So again, think of yourself as that Amazon seller selling ideas in a clear and concise way. And this is a little fuzzy, but I think it's very important to really try to talk about things that you actually think are true, that you actually believe in. If you're sharing ideas that you don't care about or you don't believe in, and you're just trying to get ideas across, and you don't really feel anything about them, I think the audience feels that way. This is just my intuition, right? The audience will feel that. I'm not sure how they feel it, but I'm pretty sure that they do. And they won't feel that in a good way. They'll feel nothing about it too. There's something about authenticity. It's this X factor, this thing that's very hard to describe, that I've seen validated again and again and again. I really think there's something about not just telling the truth, but being authentic in the way that you choose the ideas you talk about, in the things you talk about, and how you talk about those things, right? So take that for what it is. My statement is be authentic, because I think it matters, and I can't really support that. But I do think it matters. Somehow it matters. Finally, if you're going to be using slides, slides are good, right? Slides can provide visual support. That's what they're there for. But they're visual support. The key word there is support. They help you tell your story. They help you clarify. They help you organize. They help you, when you're saying something, give people a thing they can grab onto to hold on to that idea, right? Whether that's just bullet points that they can see, or an image or a graph or something like that. Do not make the slides the main thing and you're just commentating on the slides. So this is where the real information is. Here's everything you need to know, and let me just say a few words about it. No, it's the other way around. The slides support you. You don't support the slides. If you support the slides are the main thing, then it's not a presentation. It is a slide deck, and it can be shared with anyone, in which case, why give a presentation? You should think of yourself as the primary agent, the primary information conveyor when you're giving a presentation. And so when you think of your slides, think of them as little things here and there to lend support to your ideas, right? To make them resonate, to make them more clear. Again, that's the value of images. That's the value of bullet points. That's the value of graphs, right? It's very easy to say, 98,000 people, blah, 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 last year. Well, if I show you something visually and you can see that in a very intuitive way, that's going to support what I'm saying, because it's a big number and people have trouble with big numbers, right? So just keep that in mind. That's very important. And I would say, I would just reinforce the idea that you don't have to be anyone else. I talked about authenticity. Be yourself. Find your own voice. If you haven't found your voice, keep making presentations. So this brings me to my challenge for you. If you sometimes make presentations, or you have opportunities that you haven't taken to give a presentation, take the next one. The next time you have any chance to do a presentation in public, take it. That is my challenge for you. If you don't, make one anyway and record it. Record it with slides if you like, record the whole thing, and go back and watch it. Share it with a few people you know and trust who can give you feedback. My challenge to you is to build a presentation with these tips. And if you feel like you need a little bit more, for example, hooks and some of the other things that go into building presentations, like outlines, all of that stuff specifically, you can check out my full course on this topic. It's over 5 hours going through step by step how to build really good presentations. So that is my challenge for you. And if you feel like you can't do it, that is nonsense. Everyone can. It's only that you're living inside of a little comfort zone bubble and you haven't pushed yourself enough. Everyone can, and I believe everyone should, because if you can improve your communication skills, if you push yourself to do difficult things, if you push yourself to express ideas with a structure and think through all of these questions, like who am I talking to and how can I engage them at the start, then you're going to become a better, more powerful communicator. And that is an essential skill in today's world. All right? Good luck with that. If you have any questions, let me know. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course that is Natural English Conversations in the links in the description. Okay? All right. So there's that. I don't know if anyone can notice this or appreciate this. I feel that this is something that I'm very proud of. Look at my background. If you see that this part of this sofa and these leaves over here are more clear than the background, and it looks like there's a bit more depth. If you've noticed that, congratulations, because I worked hard to make that happen. I've always wanted to have a depth of field look, and I've kind of figured out a way to do it. Eventually I will turn this into video, but this background is from Midjourney, and I like it a lot. I think it's pretty cool. I might keep this one for a while. I like the aesthetic, the pastel colors. It's nice. It's nice. Okay. I just got an email from my solar people. Should I provide an update on your move your project to the phase where I could submit the final paperwork. As of today, all necessary documents have been submitted. Oh, great. So recently, I've been doing a solar project where I have, well, I got solar panels installed on my roof, right? And the company that did it actually did a great job. Everything was very smooth. They came, they installed it in a few hours, easy peasy, right? But I couldn't turn it on because the utility said that I needed to upgrade something in the electrical grid transformer thing. I don't know. Something had to be upgraded. So we were all, the company that installed the solar system and me, we were waiting and waiting and waiting for them to do this upgrade. I had to pay $250 for this upgrade. And we're waiting for 2 months. Finally, I just emailed them and said, hey, what is going on? Why are you not upgrading this? And then they got back to me and said, oh, upon further review, we have realized that you actually don't need an upgrade. So now I'm good to go. The system is on. So that's great. That is great. And if you see, I'll show you. And I said I wouldn't do visual things for the audio listeners, but I will show you. It is 10:45 in the morning. This is my app. And on the app, you can see 10:45 in the morning in April. So April is not the peak of, sun production, but I put it at this angle. There we go. So my solar panels are currently producing 6 kilowatt hours of solar. My home is currently using 0.6. So I'm sending 5.4 kilowatt hours to the grid. So the way that it works with solar is you send power to the grid. And then the grid, or the utility company, they reimburse you based on how much you produce. So that's pretty cool, I think. That's how it works. So that then lowers your electricity bills, which is great. Which is great. Okay. We're going to look at a TV show episode in a second. We're going to be looking at an episode of The Mandalorian. Hopefully we'll be okay to do that. Account ending Google. Sorry, I shouldn't be. Why am I checking my email directly while I'm doing this? Okay. All right. TV show time. TV show time. I'm just going to make sure everything's okay with the stream. If you give me just a moment. I need to check the audio of the stream, so hold on 1 second. There we go. Oh yeah, it's good. We're good. We're good. I'm seeing comments coming in on YouTube and Facebook, but it's not coming in on my recording app, which is bizarre. So those, if you have comments, those watching live, pop those in. Now I actually have YouTube open. I don't have Facebook open, but I'm seeing them on YouTube, but not seeing them in my feed here on my computer, which is weird, which I don't understand, which is strange, which is bizarre. Okay, so let's hop over to the video, shall we? I don't know if anyone has seen The Mandalorian. I actually enjoyed this season. I know some people who did not enjoy it, but I liked it. And it's not heavy TV. It's not meant to be. I think it's not meant to be amazing TV, right? At least as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned. I don't require amazing TV. Okay. So here we go. We're going to watch this scene from The Mandalorian where Moff Gideon visits the Shadow Council of ex-Empire folks after the fall of the Empire. We're going to learn a few interesting words and phrases. And then I'm going to be searching those also in ChatGPT so that we can see some more examples. I'm integrating that as part of this. So you'll see me pop this down like so. And so we'll be able to look at some examples that way. I think that's kind of a cool thing rather than me just talking, right? So here we go.
The New Republic is vulnerable, but we...
Just so you know, we're not writing that down. Vulnerable, if you didn't know, the New Republic is vulnerable. Vulnerable means weak, not strong, not robust. Vulnerable.
We must be cautious. The New Republic will increase their efforts to hunt us down.
The New Republic will increase their efforts to hunt us down. I like his cadence there. So that's the first one we're going to look at here. Hunt us down. Hunt down. What is the difference between hunt and hunt down? I know. Can I say, for example, we hunted down the gazelle? If you're a hunter, it sounds weird to say, I hunted down the gazelle. You could say it, but it sounds a little bit odd. Well, why is this guy saying hunt us down? Let's listen to that one more time, and then we're going to look it up here.
Will increase their efforts to hunt us down.
Okay. So, increase their efforts to hunt us down feels like when we use hunt down that there is a deliberate effort on us with the target of a specific person or group of people to usually catch them and punish them, right? Bank robbers, for example, were hunted down. We spend an extra effort. We spend extra energy focusing on one person or one group, right? In the Star Wars prequel movies, the Jedi were hunted down. They weren't just hunted. Hunting is more like this general activity where I say, oh, there's a deer. And I don't actually do that, but I'm imagining that's what hunters do. They don't care which deer it is. If it's that deer or that deer, it's a deer, right? But if there's a deer named Dennis, and Dennis is the enemy of the people, whatever, Dennis is stealing everyone's lawn gnomes, we must hunt Dennis down and end Dennis the deer, right? That's more of the feeling of hunt down as opposed to hunt. Hunting is anything that comes by that meets my criteria for something that I want to shoot or kill, right? And you can use hunting for other things as well, but that's just an example to give you a sense of the difference between hunt and hunt down. So if we go over here to ChatGPT, we see the examples: hunt down, to search persistently and determinedly for someone or something, persistently and determinedly. So, it's Dennis I want and no other deer, basically. That is hunt down. The detective was determined to hunt down the suspect and solve the case. I spent the afternoon hunting down the perfect gift for my friend's birthday. So now we see it used in a different way. Hunt down a gift? Shooting the gift? No. I specifically want to find that thing. I want to find my keys. I hunted down my keys, which I had lost in the park. Or I hunted down the perfect gift. So hunting down can be used for bad things, good things, people we want to catch and punish, but also sometimes used to talk about things like, in this case, a gift. The journalist hunted down sources to verify the information for her article. So she is finding the deliberately searching for the people who are going to help her discover the information that she needs, right? She's going to hunt down those sources, okay? So let's keep going here.
Citizens loyal to the Empire.
Grand Admiral Thrawn's return will herald in the reemergence of our military.
Grand Admiral Thrawn's reemergence will herald in the return of our military. And by the way, I just love this guy's cadence. I love how musical his voice is. It's very dramatic. I love how he talks.
Herald in the reemergence of our military.
Herald in the reemergence of our military. So, okay, herald in or herald. To herald something is to be an early indicator that says something about what's coming. It's not the main thing, but it is the sort of flag planting that, in a way, announces this is a new time, a new age, a new period. And it's sort of like saying, after this, things will be different, right? The herald is the early thing that announces it, the early statement that says something big is coming, a trend is happening, a change is happening, okay? That's generally how it's used. Now, let's see what we can get from our old pal ChatGPT. So let's do herald in. Herald in. Okay, and we'll search that. Come on, herald in, to announce or signal the arrival or beginning of something. Exactly. The blooming flowers herald in the start of spring each year. That's a good one. The referee's whistle heralded in the beginning of the soccer match. I have an issue with that one slightly. And the release of their new product line heralded in a new era for the company. Okay? I'm just curious here. So the second one is weird because it's too mundane, right? The whistle is the start of the match. It usually herald in is for bigger scale things like spring, for example. I think the first example is perfect. The blooming flowers herald in the start of spring, right? The release of their new product line heralded in a new era for the company. Both of those are great, but the referee's whistle heralded in the beginning of the soccer match. That one is, in my opinion, very odd. What if we just do herald? let's just see. I'm curious if it can do it with herald here, if it knows it's a verb. A person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another event. The sound of thunder in the distance was a herald of the approaching storm. That's good. The first robin sighting is often considered a herald of spring, so it can be used as a noun too. The press conference served as a herald to the new partnership between the two companies. I think those are all very good. Notice that they're using it there also as a noun. So all of these examples were a noun, and herald in is using it as a verb. It can be used either as a noun or as a verb. Okay? All right, let's keep going.
Captain.
So herald in the military. What is it?
In the reemergence of our military. And will herald in the reemergence of our military.
I love it.
Captain Pelion, you always speak with much authority. And yet I see that Grand Admiral Thrawn is missing.
Yeah. Grand Admiral Thrawn is this shadowy figure who hasn't showed up yet, apparently.
From your delegation, you have spoken of his imminent return.
Okay, there we go. You have spoken of his imminent return. His imminent return. If something is imminent, very simply, it is happening very soon. It is about to happen. It hasn't happened yet, right? The resurgence of the economy is imminent. That means it's just about to happen. Here it comes, right? The imminent recession maybe will cause untold suffering and economic catastrophe. So that means it's either happening right now or just about to happen. It's very soon. It's in the very near future. Okay, so let's take a quick look at imminent. About to happen, very close in time, with the dark clouds gathering overhead, a thunderstorm seemed imminent. The tense atmosphere in the room suggested that an argument was imminent. That's a great one. The tense atmosphere in the room suggested that an argument was imminent. I love that one. Due to recent technological breakthroughs, a major medical discovery is imminent. Pretty good as well. Yeah, it means it's going to happen very soon. It doesn't mean it actually does, because the way that Moff Gideon is using it here, he's saying, he's mocking him. He's saying his imminent return doesn't seem to be happening. He's doubting that he is even going to emerge or return, right? He's almost mocking that guy.
His imminent return.
Imminent return. Is it definitely a tone of mocking there, right?
Hope for success relies upon the secrecy of his return.
Captain, secrets are my stock in trade. Perhaps.
Okay, there we go. Secrets are my stock and trade. Now we're going to look at stock and trade here.
His return.
Captain, secrets are my stock in trade. Perhaps.
Okay, what is stock and trade? You might be able to guess there. He's saying Grand Admiral Thrawn his return is imminent, actually, but secrecy is very important. That's why you haven't heard anything. Okay, all right, fair enough. Now, Moff Gideon is saying, well, listen, if it were, I know about secrets. That's my thing, right? The stock and trade are the fundamental tools that you have to do whatever it is that you do, right? That's your business. That is what you know about. Those are the essential things that are part of what you do well. And that could be your career, but it could be something that's important to you in your life that's not related to your career at all. In this case, Moff Gideon, he deals in secrets. He knows all about secrets because they are his stock and trade. His stock and trade. So let's quickly look at some examples here. By the way, let me know what you think about this sort of way of doing it where we get phrases from ChatGPT. I think it's a really interesting process to do the back and forth. It kind of feels more like it's, I don't know what examples it's going to give, so I can make comments on whether I think those are natural or not, like the one we looked at before with the referee whistle being a little bit awkward. I can tell you which ones sound natural to me, right? Okay, so stock and trade. Stock and trade, the typical tools, skills, or goods that someone uses or deals with regularly in their profession or business. As a carpenter, his stock and trade include a variety of power tools and hand tools to create custom furniture. Her stock and trade as a graphic designer is her ability to create visually stunning designs. Now, notice there that stock and trade is her ability. So it's not that it has to be, physical things, objects. It can be, but it can also be your methods, your approach, your strategy, that you work in secrets. Okay, great. That you have a lot of experience, that you have a great aesthetic sensibility as a designer, right? Your ability to create stunning designs. That is your stock and trade. It doesn't have to be some specific item or object or thing like that, okay? For a chef, their stock and trade often consists of an array of fresh ingredients, culinary techniques, and signature dishes. Absolutely. That's a good example as well. Okay, we have two more that we're going to be talking about here, so let us keep going.
It's time we look to new leadership.
We already received your request. 3 Praetorian guards. Sounds like someone is concerned about an assassination attempt.
Assassination attempt is when someone tries to kill you. To stop an assassination attempt means someone tried to kill you and you prevented it.
Mandalorians.
What? A research in Mandalore would hamper our efforts.
I love this guy. I love how he talks. He's so thoughtful. Everything about him. I love his mannerisms. He's so concerned here about Mandalorians that they would hamper our efforts.
In Mandalore would hamper our efforts.
Which is why...
Okay, hamper. Now, you may have seen previously that I had a big debate with Francis from Last Minute English about the word hamper as a noun. To have a hamper, Christmas hamper, a holiday hamper in England is apparently this thing with fruit and gifts and stuff in it, whereas a hamper in the United States would be a place where you put your dirty clothes. But to hamper as a verb, we are united on the meaning of this. This means to slow it down, to make it more difficult. If you're trying to do something, it's really hampering me. It's preventing me from doing that easily. It may still happen, but it's harder. And so the thing that's causing the difficulty is hampering me, hampering my efforts, right? And often you hear hamper in front of efforts. So that's actually a really, really common one. So here we go. Here's what I wonder if it will give us hamper as a noun. Let's say hamper us. Let's use hamper us so that way we force it to use it as a verb here. Hamper, to hinder or impede the progress, movement, or effectiveness of something or someone. The heavy rain hampered us during our hike, making it difficult to navigate the muddy trails. Lack of funding hampered us in completing the community project on time. An unexpected injury hampered us during the basketball game. Now, here we're forcing it to use hamper us, so all of the examples are us, but it could be hamper me, hamper them, hamper our efforts, right? Hamper our strategy, our rollout, something that we're doing, all of those, right? I wanted to kind of force it to use it as a verb because I didn't want to see any noun examples, because we know those. That's the basket or the thing that holds the dirty clothes. So that's the basic idea for hamper. Okay, let's keep going here. Go away. Okay, we have one more to talk about.
We need to stamp them out.
You'll have your reinforcements.
Long live the Empire!
Long live the Empire!
We shall be rid of the Mandalorians once and for all.
Once and for all. Once and for all. This is a very dramatic statement. Every time you say this, usually you mean it in a very serious, sincere way. I want to solve this once and for all. I want to deal with my weight issues once and for all, right? Hopefully, answering this question will resolve your issues once and for all. That means finally, and after this, no more. No more. Whether that means it doesn't happen again, or you don't ask me again, or it doesn't happen to me again, period, or there are no more Mandalorians. Get rid of the Mandalorians once and for all. So after this, no more Mandalorians, basically, is what he's trying to say, right? So let's see. Once and for all. He's so dramatic. Once and for all. Once and for all, a phrase used to indicate a final, conclusive, or complete resolution to a problem or situation. She decided to confront her fears once and for all by signing up for a public speaking course. Hey, that's very appropriate for today's topic. The new software update fixed the glitches once and for all, improving the user experience. They settled the long-standing dispute once and for all with a binding legal agreement. So once you have the legal agreement, we both signed our names on this contract, we have hopefully settled this dispute we've been having once and for all. That means now that it's a legal issue, we can't talk about it anymore. It's not a problem anymore. We have settled it once and for all. Okay? So those are the words and phrases that I wanted to show you and explore with you from The Mandalorian. It's been a good season. If you have any questions about these or you would like to practice your own examples, please leave those in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and get a free course, Natural English Conversations, in the links in the description. Okay. Nice. Nice. Back to the thing. I hope we'll be okay with that video clip. We're just watching little pieces. It is transformative because I'm teaching a lesson based on it. Please, Disney, I'm not trying to show the show. I'm trying to teach with it. Don't claim that. Come on. Give me a break. Come on, guys. Come on, Disney. I don't know if you know this, but so there's something called fair use. And fair use is when you're allowed to use things like clips, sections of things, if it is transformative. So if we watch a 1-minute clip from a full episode of a TV show, and we're stopping every 10 seconds to pull out a word or phrase and then talk about that for a minute or two, that is clearly transformative, right? So that should be a no-brainer in terms of, yeah, we can do that. That's not an issue. But the way that it works on YouTube is that they can claim, even if you show 5 seconds, they can claim that, and then you have to clip that. It's super annoying. I don't think it's very fair. So you have to be careful with how you do it. And I think it's the way that it works now, it favors too much the copyright holder to be able to claim even a little thing, even though, hey, actually that clearly you're transforming it. It's obvious, right? Obviously. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, hold on. I'm getting a phone call. Is that playing on the computer? No. No, good. That's good. All right. All righty. Now we're going to go on and talk about what's next. We're going to be talking about... Oh, I wanted to show a video of the Pope, actually. We're going to do that next. So let's, this is just sort of as an aside, as a kind of just little thing I wanted to share. Okay. The Pope gave a speech in front of Congress that I hadn't seen before. So how good is the Pope's English actually? Let's take a look. Let's see what we can glean about the Pope's, let's say, language skills. I'm gonna pretend that I'm the Pope's English teacher, and I'm gonna give some feedback to the Pope based on how he talks, just in case, right? Pope, if you're watching, I'm gonna help if I can. See what I can do.
I too am a son of this great continent, from which we have all received so much, and toward which we share a common responsibility. Provide us with a good synthesis of a work. Today, I would like not only to address you, but through you, the entire people of the United States.
Okay, so I would say he's not speaking English on his own. He's reading a speech, right? So we can't really judge his English based on what he's saying, because someone has clearly, checked it and written the speech for him. And so all we can talk about really is his pronunciation. And there are things that are hard to hear because he has this, very strong accent. English is obviously not his native language, obviously. So what could he do to make it more clear, right? If you let's listen to this part here.
Through you, the entire people of the United States.
So, as with many English learners, the TH could be improved. He's saying they instead of they. That could clarify things a little bit.
Responsibility. Provide us with a good synthesis of a work. Today,
couldn't hear that one.
I would like not only to address you, but...
So for the R sound, he says dere, dere, and that's a common thing too, for non-native English speakers, to make another sound rather than the English R sound. Address you, he says, instead of address you. So there we would work on the R sound.
Through you, the
I can't hear that.
Entire people of the United States.
And there again, entire, so it's a Y sound instead of entire, could be more clear.
Here together with the...
There the G sound could be harder. Together, there's if he said to get and there was a harder G sound, that could improve.
Representatives, I would like...
Again, I think if he just worked on his R sound, he would be much more clear, because representatives, and also the vowel sounds, tivs, teves, tiv, representatives, T is E sound instead of an I sound.
To take this opportunity to dialogue with the many thousands of men and women who strive each day to do a honest day's work.
Okay, so there, the interesting thing about the H is that sometimes at the beginning of the word it's silent. Sometimes it's both. For example, in British English it's herb, H-E-R-B, and in American English it's herb, H-E-R-B, same spelling, different pronunciation. But for example, both British people and Americans say our and honest. They don't, in England, they don't pronounce it honest or hour, but he says honest there.
Do a honest day's work.
Honest, you can hear.
These are men and women who are not concerned simply with paying their taxes, but
They're more of a T sound. Taxes instead of daxes. Sounds like he's saying D. Daxes, I think, right? Instead of could be a stronger t sound.
taxes.
Daxes.
But in their own quiet way,
There, own. The more clear O sound would help there. Own, O, own, 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 o.
sustain the life of society. They
Okay, I mean, it's hard to get a clear sense of how good his English actually is if he could speak, because he's just reading a speech. But anyway, there you have it. There you have it.
a
Pope's
song
English.
of this great continent from which we have all received so much and toward which we share a common responsibility. Provide us with a good synthesis of your work. Today, I would like not only to address you, but through you, the entire people of the United States, here together with the...
Interesting. Who cares about English if you're the Pope? You know, you don't need English. You're the Pope. Pope doesn't need English. But if the Pope did, I would say, get a free course in the links in the description. Natural English Conversations, that is specifically designed for popes, but other people can take it too. And I would, if the Pope were watching this, I would say, hey, hit the like button, subscribe. That really helps out. If you're listening, give a 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and show support. Show support, Mr. Pope. Alrighty, it's time to get into the real stuff. We're going to be doing a bit of a grammar lesson. We're going to be talking about continuous tenses. And I know that might sound boring, and that's because it is boring, but I'm going to do my best to make it as clear as possible, because it's so important to be able to clearly use continuous tenses to talk about the past, the present, and the future. So let's hop over to the Blackboard, which is actually a blue board, and talk about these things. Okay. So, when it comes to tenses, it's scary and confusing sometimes to know which tense to use when, right? And you hear these different names for things: continuous, progressive, past perfect, present perfect. I don't know all of these things. I want to say, before we get into what we're calling continuous tense, the names for all these things don't matter as much as the things themselves. So focus your attention on how to use it, on understanding it kind of deeply, rather than, oh, I need to remember what it's called, or it's continuous, or it's progressive, or whatever it is, right? That's not so important compared to being able to use it. Now, the ones we're going to be looking at are present continuous, future continuous, and past continuous. These tenses are very useful to talk about, this is the thing to pay attention to, ongoing actions. If that's in the present, that is an action that is currently ongoing. If that is in the future, that is an action that in the future will be ongoing. And if that was in the past, that is an action that was ongoing, either until something stopped it or at the same time as another thing, or at any specific point in time. What is the ongoing action? So remember that. Ongoing, continuous tenses, ongoing. Now, the general structure to keep in mind for the continuous tenses is that there is usually a be verb, is, are, am, was, were, and then, or will be, could be, and then an ing verb. So this is where we use the ing, the ing. Now, this is not what you may have heard as a gerund. No, this is a verb tense specifically. This is an action that is happening, or will be happening, or was happening. Now, you might be asking yourself the question, okay, what about simple present tense? Isn't that for now? No, it's not really, not really. If you are doing something now, I am washing my clothes, that's currently what's happening. But if I say I wash my clothes, that may be talking about something that's true now, but in a general sense, not in this moment, right? But maybe I'm talking about how often I do that. I wash my clothes once a week. Am I doing it now? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So actually, the simple present tense is not for the present, really. The present continuous tense is really for the present, okay? So let's now talk about the structure of the present continuous. So we have this is how it usually goes. We have the subject, then we have an auxiliary verb. This is a helping verb in this case for the present perfect tense. Be, is, am, are. Then you have your main verb as an ing verb, right? So for example, we could say, waiting for the bus. We are waiting for the bus. What's the subject? We. We is the subject. We are waiting. Are is the auxiliary helping verb. Then the main verb, wait. That is the main verb. So the are or the is or the am or that verb there is not the main verb of the sentence. It is the verb that's helping you say the main verb, which is wait, used in ing because it is happening right now. The cows are grazing in the pasture. The cows are grazing in the pasture. So that's telling you that if you look in the pasture right at this moment, you look over there. Oh, look, there are cows over there. Yeah, they're grazing in the pasture. It's happening in this moment. That's as simple as it needs to be. That is how simple the present continuous tense is. And what you'll find is that the other tenses, I think, using the continuous are similarly not that difficult, right? If you can understand these, we are waiting. The cows are grazing. You get the present continuous tense. That's as simple as it needs to be. Now, you need to change the auxiliary verb depending on the subject. It has to agree. So if you say she, then you wouldn't say she are waiting. You would say what? She is waiting, right? She is waiting. That would be the present continuous tense. Is because is needs to agree with the subject. Okay, now, when we make the future continuous, it's not different. It's the same thing. So let's take a look at that one. Now, you may know when we talk about the future, we might say going to, we might say will, right? We might just say I am to talk about the future. Sometimes the future can be done in exactly the same way as the present continuous. For example, you might say, I am going home tomorrow. Well, actually, that I am going is the same structure as the present continuous tense, but it's using it to talk about the future. Let's put that aside for a moment and just talk about this basic format using will, which is the subject, and then will, then again, auxiliary verb, be, right? Will be, will be. Now, for this one, we don't need to change the auxiliary verb. Will be, will be, will be. We don't say will are, will is. Will be, will be, will be, will be. So in some sense, it's even simpler than the present continuous because all you have to do is say will be. You don't have to worry about making subject-verb agreement because of will. So, she will be, he will be, they will be, we will be, I will be. All of them will be, then the main verb, then ing, just like the others, right? I will be looking for a job at some point. I will be looking for a job at some point. Great. One of my students will be performing at a famous concert hall in a few weeks. Will be performing at a famous concert hall in a few weeks. So that's the future. Now, can we use it with the other ways to talk about the future, like going to, right? For example, can I say, I am going to be spending a lot of time there next summer. I am going to be spending a lot of time there next summer. Yes, but it's actually a little bit more complicated because we've already used the am going or will, the am going, the present continuous tense to make the future tense. And so then when we say the next thing, to be going, suddenly we aren't using the same thing every time. So let's, again, put that one aside. I just want you to learn for now the simplest form of the future continuous tense, which is this basic structure of the subject, and then of will, and then be, and then the ing verb. Just learn that for now. Maybe we can do the more complicated future tenses using the present continuous tense as a future tense another time. I don't want to cause any confusion. I don't want you to be confused about this stuff. Okay, now finally, we need to look at the past continuous. So let's take a look at the past continuous. She was reading a book when I arrived. She was reading a book when I arrived. They were playing soccer in the rain. They were playing soccer in the rain. Now, what's different here? Well, the structure is very similar to what we've been talking about. You have the subject, then the auxiliary verb to be, but it's in the past. So here we have two choices, was and were. That's it, was and were. What's the difference between was and were? When should you use one? When should you use the other? Was would agree with, for example, she was, he was. They were, we were, I was, it was. So it just has to agree with the subject, and it's only was or were. Then you have your main verb again, just like the present perfect or the present continuous. Let's not get into present perfect continuous yet. We're not talking about that today. Just the present continuous, just like that. And that's it. So she, instead of is reading, that would be her now. We change it to was reading because it's the past. And the interesting thing about this one is that this is how we give context to events that happen. So the event that happens in this first example is I arrived. So if you want to give a little context there, she was reading when I arrived, that is the action that she was doing, this continuing thing that maybe stopped when I arrived. Maybe not, maybe it stopped, maybe it didn't, but it's giving a bit of context to the action that happened. I was eating lunch when I got a phone call. So that's better than just saying I got a phone call, right? It tells you a bit more, and it tells you that this was a thing that was happening up to that moment, right? And then they were playing soccer in the rain. That's an interesting one because this is the past thing that was going on, and then the rain is a sort of element on top of it. So you can kind of layer things in an interesting way when you're telling stories using the past continuous tense. So playing soccer in the rain, playing soccer in the winter, playing soccer on the rooftop, right? But also they were playing soccer and I was at home playing video games. So there you can have two actions happening at the same time, and both of them use the continuous tense. You can do it in the past, you can do it in the present, you can do it in the future, right? We will be, let's see. I will be living in Sweden and she will be living in Norway. So that's two things that will be happening. I am living in Sweden and she is living in Norway. I was living in Sweden and she was living in Norway. Okay, so those are simultaneous actions, and the way we talk about them is using the continuous tenses. Again, for this lesson, I want to avoid bringing up complications, other ways to use these in the future, other ways to use the continuous tenses, for example, past, perfect, continuous, those sorts of things. We're just trying to talk about the basics here. Once you have the basics, you can do a lot of things with them. So hopefully this is very clear with these examples. You understand the structure. If you have any questions about these, please let me know. Make your own examples. Practice, practice, practice. This is not something you can just learn and understand and then say, now I've got it. If you aren't sure about this, practice many examples. Then you'll build a habit around it. Then when you open your mouth, it will come out correctly every time. That is how it is done. So practice those examples. Let me know if you have any questions. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also get a free course, Natural English Conversations. That is in the links in the description. Okay. Okay, so I see a comment from I'm studying your pronunciation course on Skillshare, and it's awesome. Do you have a one-to-one private English course? No, I don't, unfortunately. I do not have any private courses. For me, I understand due to my Spanish. Haha. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's about the Pope. Okay. Something up with comments today because none of them show up in my comments, but all of them show up in different. I'm seeing some on Facebook, some on YouTube, but they're not in my. It's weird. Very strange. All right. If there are any questions, and again, I'm sorry, I'm only seeing YouTube comments, but feel free to ask if you have any on YouTube. Again, I only see those. Happy to answer. And we're going to go on to one more topic for today. We've been talking about presentations a bit right at the start. We talked about how to make a clear and natural presentation. So I want to actually teach you something interesting. Guy says, we don't have a complex vowel system as you in English, and that's the main reason English is hard. Yeah, I think that's part of it. In English, we have these sounds that are both long sounds and short sounds, and so they sound very different. Short sounds like a, I. Long sounds like a, e, I, o, u, and a, what did I say? I got lost in my head. So the short versus the long, but then it's not even that simple. It gets more complicated. So English pronunciation is a tangled, sticky situation for sure. Something that requires also building habits, deep habits. But we do have one more topic to talk about today, and that is going to be hopefully an interesting one. Hopefully. Okay. I need to copy this. If you've seen my presentations course, you will have learned about how to make outlines when you're trying to build a presentation in English. Check out that course, 5 hours of how to give great presentations. It's in the links in the description. It's on sale. Check that out. But if you want to build an outline, you don't always have to start from scratch. You can use a lot of tools. So I've been looking at how you can use ChatGPT to build a really good, compelling outline for a presentation, for a video, for a talk, for whatever, right? So what I've done is I've built a prompt that is going to allow me to very quickly create a presentation, including slides. So once I get my outline, then I'm going to give my outline to another AI platform called Tome, and then Tome is going to build my slides for me. At least we're going to try it and see how it works, okay? So here's I'm going to hop over here to GPT-4, and I'm not going to read the whole prompt out here, but I will provide it in the comments, or no, in the description. But basically, now there are a couple important elements here. I want a bullet point outline. Very important. Now, I want to say what the topic is, but if you just say, give me a bullet point outline about this topic, it's going to decide. ChatGPT is good at just making stuff up, so it's going to decide what that content is. But it doesn't know what content I want to talk about. You have to be the engineer of your own ideas, right? So give that. Provide that. Use bullet points and regular numbers. This is one I constantly struggle with ChatGPT. I don't like to use Roman numerals for my outlines. I hate it. Sometimes I get it. It's a constant battle. Anyway, don't use Roman numerals. I want to include the steps of writing a basic description as the initial prompt, including adding important details that I want to include in the outline. I want to include the steps of writing a basic, what is this description? Oh, I think I used the wrong word here. Of using a basic description. Now that's what I want to say. That's right. What I'm doing, it's getting very meta because my outline that I'm asking ChatGPT to create is about how to do what I'm doing, which is asking ChatGPT to create an outline. So it's very meta. It's like looking into an infinite mirror, because I'm asking it to create the thing that I'm actually doing right now, which is what I did before to create what I'm saying right now, which is now what I'm asking it to do. All right, anyway. Yeah, this is right. So as the initial prompt, including adding important details that I want to include in the outline, refining the outline by asking GPT to make revisions using words like include, simplify, remove. Adding specific examples. This is where you put in the content that you want to be in your outline exactly, okay? Adding specific examples manually to make it pop, and then getting a final version that I can use to present or build slides. Note that this is a back and forth process. Then I want to talk about the outline, talk about how the outline can be turned into slides using tome.app. So I'm giving it instructions to make an outline for me about the topic of how to make an outline to make a presentation about how to make an outline. Why did I choose this? This is insane. All right, let's see what we get with this. And we need to be ready to use include, remove, simplify. Oops. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we get. Yoink. We got Roman numerals. That's fine. Let's see the quality though. Introduction. Importance of outlines for presentations. GPT as a tool for creating outlines. Start with an initial prompt. Add important details to include. Define the goal of the presentation. Then refine the outline with ChatGPT. Use words like include, simplify, remove. Request revisions from ChatGPT. Iterate until satisfied with the outline. Adding specific examples manually. Enhance outline with concrete examples. Make the presentation more engaging. Relate examples to the main points. Final version, Roman numeral 5. Review the outline for clarity and coherence. Ensure all important points are covered. Use the outline as a guide for the presentation. So now I have an outline, and this is, by the way, basically the same outline that I got before I did what I'm doing right now, that I followed to do what I'm doing right now. Because what did we do? I started with telling you what? I started with telling you that if you want to create an outline using ChatGPT, you need to start with your initial prompt and you need to add important details and you need to say what your goal is. And I said that you need to use these words to make it better, improve it, right, and get variations. And then I said that you need to enhance that outline by making sure it's accurate and make it as engaging as possible on your own, right? Make variations. So yeah, pretty close, pretty close. Now, let's say we want to use this. I'm just curious, by the way, can I get this without Roman numerals? Remove the Roman numerals. Let's see if we can get it. I just hate Roman numerals so much. There's nothing wrong with them, actually. There we go. There we go. Introduction, importance of outlines for presentations. Write a basic description. Refine the outline with ChatGPT. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm refining the outline, refining it by asking it to remove Roman numerals, adding specific examples. I'm going to skip 4 because we're just doing this as a sort of walkthrough. So skipping that, getting to a final version, reviewing it for clarity and coherence, ensuring all points are covered, and using the outline use the outline as a guide for the presentation. I would say this looks pretty accurate. Don't organize content into individual slides, customize the design and layout. Yep, we're going to do that. And then in conclusion, this is basically predicting the future here. So why did I choose this topic? I'm confusing myself with my own topic because I chose a topic about the topic that I'm talking about. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to copy all of this. This is our outline, right? We've got it. We've got a solid outline. Now what we want to do is head over to Tome. So Tome is an app to generate AI slides. So we've got an outline. Now I'm assuming you're practicing and revising until you get to a final version. Then you come over here and say, please build me a slide deck based on the following outline. And then I paste it in, and let's see what we get. What I want to see is that it creates different slides for each section, and it creates images as well, right? So it's looking at the document. It looks like it's working. And let's see what we get here. Introduction. Okay, there's a good outline. Importance of outlines for presentations. It's not enough detail. GPT is a tool for outlines, so it's giving some, but let's try again. I'm not quite happy with that, right? Oh. Is it possibly because what I pasted is way off? That's possible. All right, let's make sure we're copying the correct thing here. Maybe it's just the formatting here. Let's copy our original one, the old Roman numerals one. Let's see if this one works. Here we go. So grab the Roman numerals one. Build me a slide deck based on the following outline. Okay, now this looks more organized, and that one looked like a disaster. So let's start over. Okay, balance is getting low. Okay, great. Generate it anyway. Let's see what we get. All right. This is looking a lot better. Okay, so it's giving me the overall structure, introduction, importance of outlines for presentations, writing basic details, refining the outline with ChatGPT, adding specific examples manually, getting a final version, turning the outline into slides with Tome. So it's giving me all the points. And now what I would just need to do is go through and add images to these slides, maybe change the style a little bit, which is which point here, which is this point, organize content into individual slides. We've done that, customize the design and layout of slides. So that's what we would need to then do next, and then add visuals. Now, Tome actually can do visuals from DALL-E, But you can add, for example, I want to add an image using DALL-E. And I want to say, let's see, an artist standing in front of a large computer screen designing slides. And let's generate so we can get an image. Oh, it's not giving it to me because I'm low on credits. Oh, you turkeys. Maybe it is. Come on. Let me have one. Give me one for free, please. Okay, let's see. I like, yeah, I kind of like that one. All right. Now I probably would make this text a little bit bigger. I might make it a little larger. I might do that as a subheading, just a bit bigger, but that looks pretty good actually. Maybe change the size of this. Maybe make that a little bigger. There we go. Perfect. So I would just go through and do that individually. And again, it can generate them from the start, but it's a pretty good tool for making presentations as a starting point. And then you can really work with it a lot and change the style and edit as you need. Okay. So now let's go to the final point of our outline, because that's what I need to say. This is very meta. I think if you're making presentations, the benefit of doing it like this is that you have a really good partner to bounce your ideas off. And so if you have some ideas and you just give a basic description of what you want, like I did in my original prompt, you can get something back. And then if things are not accurate or not as you want them, the examples are not right, you then can give feedback as this back and forth process. Actually, I want a different analogy that I can use for this point that I'm making. I want you to remove the Roman numerals, for example. All of that stuff is this back and forth process. Having that partner to go back and forth makes things, I think, faster, because you don't have the blank page syndrome where you're sitting there looking at a blank screen. You have something to work with. You have some clay to mold, right? And then having it be generated into slides is the same thing, where I have something now to play with. I have a basic structure. I have some slides I can work with. I can build from here. And again, I'm not starting with a blank screen. It's that blank screen thing that's often difficult to overcome when you're creating stuff. And if you've been held back in the process of writing presentations, creating presentations, try starting this way. Try starting with a basic prompt, asking for the outline. And if you get that outline and start working with it, you'll find it's much easier to sort of get some momentum going and get some, I think, really good ideas about how to structure your ideas naturally. So if you try this, let me know how it goes. Again, it's kind of a back and forth process. It can be a little messy. As you've seen, you know, it's this process of back and forth dialogue with this brain that is emerging into the culture. And I think it's fascinating, but I would be curious to see how you use it. And if you have any suggestions based on your experience, feel free to share those in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course, Natural English Conversations, in the links in the description, and get my presentations course. Learn all about giving presentations in English. It's over 5 hours of content. That is also in the links in the description. All right. Guy says, I expect to have looked for a job at some point. To have looked, yes. I'd like you to teach us about modals. I heard different things, and reduction from those ones, for example, may not have been. Yes. One of my students will have performed at a famous concert hall in a few weeks. Yeah, that's actually correct. It's kind of strange to say it specifically in that way, because there's a simpler way to say it, because he will perform, and we will say will have often when there's something even bigger that we're talking about that is a process that's ongoing, or we're completing a specific number of things. I will have been to 90 countries by the time I'm 40. That would work, right? But it's just one way to say it. But that's a good example. That's a good question. All right. Friends, neighbors, citizens, turkeys. Thanks for joining. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. It's hopefully going to be a good weekend for you. If I didn't get to any question, pop those in the comments or in the chat. Again, those watching or listening, if you want to watch or listen, check the links in the description. Some people like to listen. You can find those links there. If you want to watch and you have been listening, again, in the description. The courses are there. The Discord is there. That's free to join. Feel free to check that out. Subscribe to the website to get updates. I post a weekly newsletter or digest of stuff that's gone out during the week, just so you can stay up to date. If you're interested in that, sign up for the newsletter. Again, grab Natural English Conversations in the links in the description. Thanks for joining, and have a fantastic weekend. Bye, everybody.